Mark Hall here, hanging out with Neil, who's working the camera. Nod, Neil. Neil is nodding. We're youth pastors here at Eagles Landing First Baptist Church, and I've been a youth pastor for a long time, and there are some things that when I was starting out, I would have loved for somebody to have just told me and let me in on, and there's things that even now that I've been youth pastor for a long time, I need to be reminded of. So that's what these videos are for. No matter where you are in your journey in student ministry, we want to pour into you a little bit. And the first thing we want to talk about is discipleship. Discipleship is one of those words that was just this big giant church word, and the first time I really heard it was Matthew 28, where he says, go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I've commanded you, and I'll be with you always, even to the end of the age. And when I would hear that, you know, you hear it at different levels as you're growing in your faith, but it sounded like a command, like this is what you better do as a Christian. I saved you, get out there and get to work, you know, get out the little soldier. And so I felt like it was something that God was telling me to do. And so I didn't really feel like I was smart enough, spiritual enough, or anything enough to really do it. And I could always find a better Christian than me that I thought they should be doing this. But what I'm seeing over time, there's a verse in Philemon that Neil and I were talking about, and it's verse 6 of the only chapter in here. And it says, I pray that the sharing of your faith may become effective for the full knowledge of everything that is in us for the sake of Christ. I pray that the sharing of your faith may become effective for the full knowledge of everything that is in us for the sake of Christ. When I started seeing that, there's a little bit more to discipleship than just God telling me to do this. He's saving the world, you've got a job, go get to work. What I've seen over time is it's not just a command, it's a gift. God gave me discipleship, the call to spiritually matter to other people, because he knew that I was going to need that. There's part of me as a believer that doesn't grow up until I own my faith enough that I can give it to somebody else. So we want to talk about what does that look like to make disciples. I felt like I had to be a preacher. I had to, be able to break down all the Greek and the Hebrew words. I need to know all this stuff. But I'm starting to see that discipleship is just walking with God and taking somebody else with you. The people that poured the most into me as a kid weren't the ones that knew all the stuff. They were just everyday guys like Luke Finkelstein when I was in 9th or 10th grade, our Sunday school teacher. He wasn't cool. He didn't talk cool. He didn't have cool shoes. He didn't like cool music. He ran a pawn shop downtown, and he would show up every Sunday, and he would just talk about praying at work. And he would talk about dealing with things in life and how God was helping him through it. It was suddenly connected for me that this wasn't a Sunday thing, because Luke was doing it on Monday. And for me, that is one of the things that really opens up what a life of faith looks like. Because I think a lot of times kids just see church as, I do baseball on Tuesday, I do football on Wednesday, I do church on Sunday. It's one more part of my life. I have friends at football, I have friends at church. This is another little culture that I'm a part of, and they never really get to see that Jesus wants to go home with you. And Jesus doesn't live in that building once a week, and he doesn't live in this book that we're trying to keep up with. He really is a life that can be lived. And that's not going to happen by just teaching them once or twice a week in a group. Because I don't know if you've ever noticed that kids talk a lot while you're teaching. If you really think about that, why are they talking all the time while I'm talking? Well, if I was in a room just me and you, I don't see you probably going, anyway, I was just thinking. You're not going to really do that, are you? You know why? Because you know I'm talking to you. But we're in a big crowd of people. Kids, I think deep down think, he's not really talking to me. He's just doing his lesson. He's just doing his thing. She's just doing her talk that she's supposed to do because this is what she does. But when you pull a kid aside and you say, I see growth in you. I see a soft heart for God in you. Why don't we get together once a week or so and start walking through the gospel together? Man, if the guys in your church had a godly man that was doing that, and the girls in your church had a godly lady that would spend time, that would say, I want to invest in you. I want to spend some time with just you. Man, that's a statement. Kids want to know that they matter and they're not just another member of the class. So what we're going to talk about in these next few sessions is how do you start pouring one-on-one into students? Because if it's complicated, the kid can't do it later. I want to give this kid a way to teach him how to walk with God that he can teach somebody else, or he's not making disciples. We're not creating students. We're not creating youth groups. we're creating disciples. And that's what we're going to talk about in these sessions.